I'm a hobby game developer and currently in the early phase of my second game project. In this Devlog series, I'm documenting and presenting my progress on the game on a regular basis. The game I'm working on will be a space-themed co-op platformer. Stay tuned if this is something you're interested in. In my last video, which was an introduction to the series, I had pretty much nothing to show. This time it's kind of still nothingness, but with a grain of content on top. First, I worked on my player controls and abilities. This was a bit frustrating because the changes I made were under the hood changes and not really visible in the actual game, but at least it's now more flexible and performant. For the player controller and the AI in my game, I use a programming pattern called finite state machines. With this system, an object can have only one active state at a time. For example, standing, walking and jumping. And each state runs different code. In my specific case, I have abilities like jump, move horizontal and shoot separated from the actual state machine. The state machine itself just enables and disables the abilities, because you don't want all the possible abilities in all the different states. For instance, you don't want to be able to jump while you're already in the air, because then you can jump an infinite amount of times. So the state machine disables the jumping script while the character is in the air. And by separating the state machine from the abilities, I can even recycle the abilities for other objects in a game, like enemies, or even use them in my future game projects. Back in the day when I worked on my first game, A Tale of the Slime Kingdom, I used to put everything regarding the player into one single C# class, including, but not limited to, movement, input, jumping, animations, the slime's ability to change its size, collisions, health, death, respawn, particle effects, sound effects, interaction with buttons, and the saving system. At the beginning, this was really comfortable, but as the project became bigger, this class became messier. At the end, I had to look through a 600 plus line long script every time I wanted to change even something tiny. This was the type of code that would get you fired if your boss ever found out who was responsible for this chaos. That's why it's important to write your code in a clean and reusable way. Start recycling your scripts and save the earth. Oh, and plant some trees. Where was I? Oh right, nothingness with a grain of content. The player now has the ability to run. And you know what that means? Exactly. I effectively widened my target audience to include speedrunners. It seems like my business plan is gaining some momentum. It's just a matter of time until my work finally pays off. Now let me show you some actual development process. Next, I wanted to create the first enemy AI in my game. The plan was to create an enemy that patrols on the ground, chases the player on sight and shoots at him. By the way, please don't question why the enemy looks like this. I just took some random sprite I found in the depths of my hard drive. At first, I tried to simply move the character. This wasn't too hard, because through the power of recycling I already had my move horizontal class ready to go. But the AI wasn't aware of its surroundings yet. The next version fixed that. I said the next version fixed that. Here we go. Then I tried moving it at different velocities, up to the point where the enemy just vanished. I think it will be fine, assuming I'll never have to let it move at light speed through the game, which could potentially happen because the game takes place in space, but I will have to live with that risk. Afterwards, I wanted to make the character jump. It ended up flying. Then it jumped really slowly. Then it jumped without ever touching the floor again. Then it jumped way too high. Then it was working properly. Wait, what? It was working properly? There is no way. This has to be some sort of scam. Ah, there it is. Phew. So, the enemy movement was done. Now I needed to turn it into an actual obstacle for the player to overcome, by giving it health and letting it deal damage by contact. But it still wasn't fair. So I gave it the means to fight back, by giving it a gun and teaching it how to pull the trigger. Without a second thought, it took its chance to get its revenge for all the times I used it as a guinea pig. This was the first time I made more complex AI behaviors. The AI in my first game wasn't very intelligent and didn't react to anything happening around them. That's why I had great fun in bringing this ugly character to life step by step, even if I struggled a bit at first. I plan on implementing AI behaviors on this floating enemy next. Subscribe if you want to see the nothingness slowly fading and being replaced by a cool game. I hope to see you next time.